last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky that we've been joined by the principal, Islamabad Nursing College. She happens to be Miss Captain Hira Ejaz. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, good morning. I'm very well. Thank you so much for inviting me in your show, and I'm feeling so honored while I can communicate, I can raise the voice of all the nurses on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. And Miss Maheen actually wants to take the lead, so I will allow her to take the lead, please.
Definitely. So I'd like to ask Ma'am Fawzia. So how do you emphasize in this day as we are celebrating International Day for Nurses, how would you raise awareness from this platform?
It's really, it's high time to raise our voice and give an awareness to our nation and our young generation that they should join nursing, because nursing is a promising profession. When I joined nursing about 35 years back, that time was very simple, and we don't know about the nursing. There was just that the nursing, they are giving the injections and tablet, but the nursing is far away from that. So that is very high. That is in my this career, I have seen the nursing is very different. The way people see it, they have very secondary role. It's not like that. Nurses have the primary role because they are working directly with the patient. They are direct care providers, and we should emphasize that the nurses should get their rights. It's not that only we talk about the right. We should talk about our duties also.
True.
That the young nurses and the senior nurses, every nurse should first give the duty and then ask about the rights of the nurses.
And I believe that, you know, it's a very important point which you've raised over here, that each and every nurse who's out there, obviously we need to raise awareness and we need to kind of speak about their jobs and their professions as well. But the point which you were trying to raise over here is that they really need to fulfill their job first and then obviously talk about and demand their rights. And it's wonderful, which is why I'm going to move on to Ms. Shazia as well. So Ms. Shazia, when we talk about nursing, obviously over here in Pakistan we see it, because today we're talking about how to pay respect to that one profession which saves life, which makes our lives more easier and beautiful. Better. Because God forbid, if a nurse actually forgets about giving one injection only, I think it can actually wreak a havoc as well. So how important do you think this day is for all of the nurses world over?
I think this is very important day because all nurses play crucial role in, critical role in nursing.
True.
Because without nurse, healthcare system is collapsed.
True.
Exactly.
So she...
And talking about a healthcare system where in Pakistan, where obviously there are so many other challenges, we certainly cannot afford another challenge, and that in the form of shortage of nurses as well.
And there's a misconception as well, Shazad.
Yes. What is that?
That is that only doctors maybe are the backbone of health services. I think nurses and doctors both are.
It's not true. Backbone of the hospital is nurses.
Always.
Because without nurse we cannot do anything.
Health services, they are teamwork. It's not only the doctor and nurse. There are so many other team members, and we should work together.
Exactly.
Right.
Even our cleaner, that is very important. True. With that person, we cannot maintain our ward. True. And we cannot maintain our hospital.
Exactly.
So it's teamwork. Every person is very important, whether it is doctor, nurse or nursing assistant, and whoever is working in the healthcare setting. They are all important, and they should get due respect.
Exactly. And you know, the aspect of respect, ladies and gentlemen, needs to be in your life. You know, may it be nurses, may it be doctors, may it be anyone. You know, because it definitely shows up your upbringing as well. But I seriously want to kind of talk about how there was a shift from very conventional nursing and to modern nursing as well. And since you happen to be principal for a nursing school as well, so I would certainly want to ask you, how was nursing if you go back in time, probably 1950s, and how do you think nursing is as of today?
Yeah, nursing in 90s, we can say from the beginning, it was taken as occupation, and nurses were supposed to work in hospital settings under the supervision and guidance of the physicians, because there were lack or there were absolutely no nursing institutes those who can train the nurses and build their capacity to work independently. So as there was lack of education and the degrees that can be offered to the nurses, because of that, the nursing was not a profession. But now nursing is a profession, and we have qualified nurses with us. We have institutes, universities that are giving them best education in Pakistan as well. So now nurses have upgraded their qualification as well as their practical standards to provide best possible care to their patients.
And this is what I exactly wanted to talk about as well, that do you think that having a more professional degree rather than a more professional skill set is better, or do you think that the skill set really needs to be enhanced rather than the educational degree?
Or both?
Or the academic, yes.
Yeah, I think this area need to be highlighted, that profession is an area of practice where we have knowledge and skills.
Yep.
So without knowledge, skill, we can't use our skill appropriately, and without skill, we can't use our knowledge. So knowledge and skill go side by side. So both are important. So this is the reason the degree program of the nurses is designed in a way that it enable them knowledge-wise, or it enhances the theoretical aspects of the nursing, and then their practice is actually the evidence-based, like what is best practice. So yes, here comes the role of the institutes. They must focus on the knowledge as well as on the skills of the nurses.
Exactly, and that's wonderful, which is why I want to actually move on to the Vice Principal of the Foundation College of Nursing as well. So ma'am, when we talk about, nursing as a profession, how do you think, or what activities, or what do you think a nurse is actually supposed to do throughout the day? Can you please take us through as well, that from the very beginning of her job, of his job, what are they supposed to do all throughout the day?
And I would like to add something as well.
You like to add so many things,
Yes,
Hannah?
yes.
Always.
I love that. I love that. So can you also tell us, how do you teach them stress management? Because there's so much stress which is involved in their job.
If there is.
Yes, there is. The stress is
A part of
Very
it.
much a
some
part of
stress
that.
is good, but the lot of stress, and when that is beyond your control, that is bad.
Yep.
We teach stress management to our students, like we told them how to manage their time, how to split their time, or this for the study, for their other activities, co-curricular activities, and how can they take help from their peers, groups, their teachers. We used to keep the counseling session for our students, and if you ask the routine, that is very tough routine. We start our day from 8 o'clock and till 1500 hours, till 3 o'clock, we used to keep on doing back-to-back classes and all these things, and in between there are so many things. Managing of students, listening of problem of the student is not the only problems of the students related to academics. Their family, we are their family, we are their playing role as mother. The teacher is like mother. We have to listen them. So many things we came through, but I used to manage that. And I also teach my students, I share so many things of my experience with my students, how to manage these stresses and how to manage their the things, and how they can
how to be on time.
How to plot the time, and how they can meet their objectives of the day, of the degree, of the life.
So achieving their daily goals, obviously,
Daily goals,
that
yes.
mentorship is required. Moving on to you, Ms. Shazia. Now, when we talk about nurses world over, I think that one of the most basic and one of the most important skills they really need to acquire is making sure that each and every time they are next to the patient, they're full of hygiene, they're looking after that as well. And that's the most important aspect as well. But when we talk about nurses, obviously, the nurses are going to help the elderly, the nurses are going to help a baby who's 1 year old, probably people who cannot even move from their beds, looking after them, changing their diapers. All of what a mother does for their kid,
Yes,
it's the
exactly.
nurses are doing for the elderly and for the kids as well. So how do you instill this value of hygiene and making sure that every time they're next to a patient, because we do get lazy, even while it was COVID, we weren't sanitizing as much, so we were lazy for ourselves. So how a nurse actually keeps up that standard of hygiene?
First of all, they start their work with hand hygiene. hand hygiene is the first step for cleanliness. If we do first, then we make our patient safe. Cleanliness is very important for patient, not only for patient, it is also care important for our herself, because if the nurse is not healthy, patient care, patient stay in hospital, patient relative stay, economically stay is the burden of family.
True.
Right.
So,
Shahzad, I happen to have an experience in a hospital and where I saw these nurses, and there was a 7-step hand cleaning thing that the doctor was actually teaching the nurse. You have to, wash your hands, and then you have to clean it again and wipe it again and do the thing.
It's like
and
OCD.
Yes, exactly. It was, kind of that.
Can I say something?
Sure.
For hand hygiene, as you said, there are so many challenges, during the COVID, we have seen the protective
The PPEs weren't even
PPEs
provided.
were not provided. Even you can visit so many hospitals, there's no soap, no water available,
True.
no sanitizers available. How we can expect from the nurses? They have to manage their hand hygiene. Even we used to ask our students to keep their sanitizer bottles
Their
with
bags. Right.
And thank you very much for saying that, because talking about sanitizer bottles, ladies and gentlemen, what we do is we take advantage of opportunities as humans. We certainly have not been able to instill the values of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, if somebody is in need, we certainly really need to extend a hand full of help rather than kind of putting more pressure. So imagine if a nurse actually needs to kind of afford their own sanitizer, they're not even getting paid quite a lot. And this is one of those challenges which I certainly need to talk about. Talking about nursing as a career, ladies and gentlemen, we really need to kind of put more focus on it. One of my mommy, she happens to be a nurse.
It's very small thing, but this is very big thing.
It is big, and it is because of the fact that, one of my mommy, in my in-laws, she happens to be a nurse, and that too in US, and she can happily afford a wonderful household, wherever she's living. So imagine, I'm going to come down to you, miss, and I want to certainly ask that, nursing as a career over here in Pakistan is looked down upon. And, not a lot of people kind of appreciate somebody being a nurse. And this is something which we really need to change. And imagine, do you think a nurse can actually very happily run their household? Do you think that they have a career? Do you think that people they're working for, they think about their future, within the nursing department? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the theme of the year that we are celebrating on the Nurses' Day, it is advocating this aspect.
Exactly.
As the theme is investing in nursing and respecting their rights to secure the global health. If we want nurses to give best quality care to the patients, to serve the community, and so we need to be our nurses to be very healthy, and the health is start from physical, living health, and the mental health. So as you said that the nursing profession is not given that respect, and it's not very much appreciated in the society. So I think these are the reasons. If a nurse is not mentally healthy, she is not maintaining the standards. So can we blame the nurse for this? I think this is the whole system that needs to care the nurse. She is so important in the healthcare system, and the system is not taking care of the nurse.
Exactly.
So we need to take care of the nurse, and this is the reason that most of our nurses, they are going abroad, because they have better facilities, they have career opportunities there, they have better income, and definitely the job satisfaction. The job satisfaction that they have there and they don't have here. So I think it's a time to think. We just not need to retain the nurse, not need to train the nurses only, but we need to retain the nurses.
Exactly.
So train and
important.
retain the nurses.
And we need to educate the people as well who are out there as well. So very important 2 questions towards the end of this segment, ma'am. Number one, obviously, when we talk about unprecedented health issues, or probably a pandemic just like COVID hit, all over the world, how do you think that we prepare all sorts of nurses out there that they really need to be prepared for any such unprecedented event? How do we take those measures?
Actually, when COVID started, then we realized, even in our College of Nursing, we don't have well-trained nurses for intensive care, because the many patients, they were on ventilator, and there was very low number of nurses who can take care of the patients on ventilator, or who are trained for intensive care units.
Exactly.
And we have to take care of this area. We should not wait for any disaster or any communicable disease. We should keep good number of trained nurses in intensive care.
True.
Like we have to give them post basic courses opportunity to train them, so we can have the good number to face any disaster and manage the disaster.
And that's
at any
important
time.
because
Even it's not time of any disaster or a COVID type of communicable disease, but at any time you need your well-trained nurses in intensive care, your dialysis area, pediatric, that is very sensitive area.
And,
So
and ma'am,
should
these
give-
days, I'm very sorry that I'm intercepting or interjecting as well, but these days I believe that, that people now, alhamdulillah, are kind of learning that, the nurses can actually help their elderly parents as well. So what they do is that they
Geriatric nursing,
have them
that is
over to
very
their
important.
houses because,
It's a trend now.
everybody's
Yes.
kind of working and, they want people to kind of look after their parents, and it's great. So which means that we do have ample human
And
resource.
if we trained our nurses for community health services, that is very important, and it's very sad to say that we don't have friends in Pakistan of community health nursing, and we don't have positions in government. Even at community health centers, there is no position, proper position for a nurse.
Exactly.
Which she deserves, because if she is degree nurse, if she have done the masters, she have to have a good position over there.
Exactly.
And we can lessen the burden of the hospitals while we providing preventive care at the community level, at the doors of the,
Yeah, at the doorstep.
doorstep of the
Exactly, that's
community.
wonderful. But towards the end, I'm very sorry, but I'm going to bring this up as well, and it might be a very harsh question. And so right at the beginning of the program, you mentioned that each and every nurse out there really needs to fulfill their duty 100% and from the core of their heart. Now imagine we live in a community, we live in a society where we, unfortunately, I'm not saying that it's you, but I'm saying that there are people within your own profession who actually behave like vultures at times as well. Imagine we have talked about nurses who've actually given away somebody else's kid to somebody else, who have actually helped people jump queues, or probably who have actually helped people send them to a doctor who wasn't really a doctor. How do you think that we eradicate such a menace from this very profession of nobility and novelty as well? Please. Whoever wants to answer. I want all three of you to answer this question.
You can start. And,
I think it's this is the lacking over the education and training of the nurses. If the institutes, they are not preparing the nurses that we need in our society, that they are not following the cultural values, or maybe there may be some other challenges because of that they are unable to fulfill the professional obligations, and they are unable to follow the professional values and ethical principles.
Or would you blame the hospitals for hiring people who certainly do not have any degree or background of the work?
Yes,
Certainly,
yeah,
certainly.
definitely.
They
Because
are responsible.
if we talk about the numbers, so we have around 1,500 graduate nurses in Pakistan.
Only?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. So 1,500.
So how come we are hiring
15,000
degree
nurses.
nurses.
Even
Even
that's
that is a low
that's
number.
less.
That's
That is very
so
less number.
we have shortfall of 1.7 million nurses according to our population range, and the
I think we
nurse
read the same
patient,
article.
yeah, the nurse patient ratio is very high. So we are expecting our nurse to take care of 70 patients, 50 patients. So how we think?
So how come the
Yeah.
hospitals are hiring if we have such low number of people? who
They're
have
not even
actually,
looking into their degrees.
Yes.
They're like, okay,
Yeah.
banda
So-
chahiye, aa jao yaar.
Yes,
Yes,
they are
it's true.
they are not the degree persons. They are the less qualified, and they are just labeling them the nurses. They are not nurses.
Exactly.
I'm 100%
So
sure.
very quickly towards the end, I want to move on to Ms. Shazia, because a lot of times she was about to say something, but she kept quiet.
Yeah, too.
What is your take on this?
I think about nursing, my thought is that nurse should be empowered.
Empowered, yes.
Empowered,
Do we have a check and balance system?
Yes, we have a very strict check and balance system, because our client is nowadays our client is very
Aware,
aware.
yes.
that-
Olivia,
There's
people
no
like
doubt.
Major
Yes.
Shazia and Major
There's no doubt
Fawzia, I
about
think,
it.
or Captain
And
Saiba
we
as well.
have our nursing council, they give license to practice to the nurses. And
Exactly.
if the nurse is not following the ethical principles and the
Exactly.
professional standards, her
So the license will be revoked, right?
Yeah.
Cancelled.
Actually, the institutions and hospital who are whoever is recruiting the nurses, if they are not checking their degrees and diplomas and whatever requirement is, why? Because they are paying less. If they are paying 15,000 or 20,000, who degree nurse is going to join them?
And you know, why do you
And
think
this is
that, you
very
know, they
sad.
would be able to invest in their degree when you're only paying them 15,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees, which I believe, you know, these days driver is actually kind of earning more than
More
a
than
nurse as
that.
well. And
Yes.
we're not demeaning any other profession as well. But thank you very much, ma'am. We're very short on
Thank
time,
you.
but we
Thank you
certainly
very
want to
much, ma'am.
congratulate you because it's your day today. Please make sure that every single day, each and every one of you brings a newer and a positive difference in our lives and a positive change as well. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, I think one of the most important aspects of being a nurse is to actually have a big smile. And to have a big smile, ladies and
Spread
gentlemen, we
happiness.
really need to be in conversation with a dentist who can actually tell us how can we actually have a bigger smile and a beautiful smile.
Sorry to interrupt
problem.
you. At the
It's
end,
your day.
I want to give a message to
Sure.
my nation, my
Please.
young nurses, that nursing is my pride, and please make this profession is passion and make your pride.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, nurses, for being with us. You know, we pay rich tribute
Thank
to you
you.
on behalf of PTV World and the entire nation. For everybody who's out there, how to have a great smile is something we will be talking about in the next
The next
segment.
segment.
Please make sure that you start smiling.